Going
Fuck
live.
yeah. So today, here, wait, let's turn this down so we can like sit back. You don't have to be so close. Anyway, so today we are here with the powerful Logan Kelly. In the words of Joe Rogan, powerful Logan Kelly. Logan was my roommate this summer. He's 1 year ahead of me here at NYU, majoring in.
I'm in GLS.
You're in GLS, Global Liberal
Smallest,
Studies.
yeah.
Global Liberal Studies.
Yeah, whatever that means.
That is a rarity when you meet. So that's like a unicorn. You're like a unicorn.
I think Rap's not in it.
Yeah.
Riley
Baker.
He was in LS. He was in LS. But yeah, no, I studied abroad my freshman year, in LS, and then you transferred to GLS.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
that's something new.
Yeah, it's kind of like Gallatin, honestly, because you write like a senior thesis on literally anything. Like, if you were in GLS, for example, you could write a thesis on like the psychology or like health benefits of jiu-jitsu, something like that. You know,
the growth of podcasting in the modern world.
Yeah, dude, it's blowing up. It's blowing up. That's why we're here.
Anyway, I think today we're going to be talking about like a whole host of things. Our mutual admiration for the overlord Elon. Maybe a little bit about the Mega Millions. That's where I want to start. Because when you said that, I was like, it is big. It's up to 1.6 billion.
Yeah. So nobody won last night. Nobody. Yeah.
That's crazy. I was thinking about this. I was having this thought yesterday when I was walking home. I was like, if I won that, because I was thinking about going and buying a ticket because it's just so big, and I'm 18, so I can't.
Yeah.
I'm 20, but I'm more than 18. I was thinking, if I got that ticket, I wouldn't even know how to go about cashing it because I would be terrified. I couldn't do it. I'd have to like call the police. I think I'd call the police. I don't even think I'd call them because then they'd shoot me. They'd shoot me. They'd shoot me and take that fucking ticket.
Dude, so if you won yesterday and you hit all the numbers, I think you should take the lump sum, personally. Do you know the options?
Yeah. You can either have it doled out to you over the week, by weeks. Yeah, it's better to take the lump sum, right?
Yeah, because basically, if you think about it, the lump sum's a lot less. It would be $321 million. But the other option is to get $20 million for the next like several decades. But the thing is with inflation,
money's not worth as much.
The money is not worth as much. I mean, it's still a shit ton of money, and you'd also be like more fiscally responsible. I guess.
Depends on who you are.
I mean, some people would probably just straight up die.
Yeah, man.
In several years, having that much money.
It's really interesting. I think about that sometimes. There are like, if I had like a serious amount of money my freshman, sophomore year when I was like 17, 18 years old, I would put it at like 30% chance that I would have died. If I had like Justin Bieber money at 18, I probably would have just like blown that on partying. And
I mean, I think most kids would.
Most kids would.
Because it's like, you can pretty much fulfill anything, any financially like attainable thing.
What's fascinating about the lottery is that there's the oxymoron aspect of the lottery, that the lottery goes to help pay for public education in this country. I don't know if it actually does that nationally, but I know in California, I believe at least. That's why we need a Jamie to look
I think in Massachusetts as well.
I think that's the case. That the money goes back to education, which should hypothetically be educating kids to understand that the lottery is one of the worst and most worst waste of money because it is so unlikely.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe this is what's the word? Or like, not being stereotypical, but I mean, when you go into a gas station or a deli when like the jackpot's not that big, like look who's going in there and buying those tickets. Like,
yikes.
Like I think it's mostly people in lower income classes, right?
Yeah, less educated. The likelihood there is that I have to imagine that there's a correlation between level of education and likelihood to buy lottery tickets. I would be stunned if anything contrary to that was true, because I just don't see a lot of rich guys.
Because it's not a logical decision. You know what I mean? Like,
it's an impulse buy.
Absolutely. But at the same time, like personally, I don't gamble that much on really anything.
I don't either. I bet $100 on Connor paid the price. that was heartbreaking.
Dude, that was a smackdown, bro.
That was a heartbreaker.
Have you talked about that yet? Like,
no, we haven't. You're the
No?
first podcast we've done since Connor.
damn.
Which I'll just give my thoughts really quick because we did a pre-show that I never posted for pretty obvious reasons after he lost. I was
Were
I
you
was
on
pretty
the Connor
wrong.
train?
Yeah,
You should own it though.
I'll own it. I totally thought I really believed in my core that Connor would win. I just didn't believe that we were going to see him lose, and like the weird way of like I didn't know how it was going to go. Well, what I thought, the reason I thought he was going to win is that I thought he could still win despite getting taken down. It's that I felt like I really got Connor's game plan, and I felt better about my pick after hearing the breakdown that Rogan did with his coach on his podcast.
Oh yeah,
And they talked about his game plan,
Yeah.
and it was really what I like. They had not publicized anything about their strategy, like obviously would, but I guessed pretty much exactly what their game plan was, which was to absorb a takedown or two in the first round, do a little better in the second, and really it was supposed to be the third and fourth where he was supposed to come on. He did win the third
To
to
get
me.
that knockout.
The problem was, and like anyone could see it, we're used to Connor. Connor is the instant offense. Connor is the fighting equivalent of the greatest show on turf. His like strikes per minute is just freakish, and the amount of damage he's able to do with just lazy jabs and basic straights is like unheard of. He throws basic ass shit and puts people down.
As a result of that, he also relies heavily on the fact that he is such a good striker. Like you can clearly see that he's not like
he didn't look like the best.
He's not a well-rounded.
He didn't even look like the better striker in that matchup. And to me, what that tells me is he was so obsessed with the talk of Khabib. You know, we always talk about Conor getting people's heads. Khabib got in Conor's head. 100%. Conor was only thinking about the takedown. I think 100% after listening to that podcast. Because what they said is they never worked Conor's offensive game really in the heavy way that they would typically. They never really strategized for how Conor would come at him on the feet because he was so obviously better. You know, there were so many different things he could do to Khabib standing from what they'd seen. But there wasn't a real need to focus on a specific course of action. Their whole camp was stopping the takedown. So in that third round,
but that's Khabib's strongest.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Attribute.
But you know, there is some belief that you should allocate the majority of your time to the thing that you're best at. The idea that you want to be sharpest with your sharpest tool. Like there's like a thinking that it isn't always the wisest. You obviously want to know how to stop a takedown and spend a lot of time. That's probably number two. It didn't look in that third round. He had 5 minutes and he didn't capitalize. And that when that third round ended, I was like, this could be trouble because he had to put him down there. And then in the fourth round, he just.
I want to talk about like.
So going back to me.
No. Actually, I wanted to talk about the pre-fight stuff, like the interactions between Conor and Khabib, just for a sec. Like, I thought personally, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Conor's. Like, I haven't seen all of his pre-fight tape for like everything. I mean, obviously, I've seen like Josie Aldo and like all the big ones.
But I've seen the big ones.
But I will say, like, when he came out with Dana White and Khabib and with the proper 12, he didn't look like he was in the right mind state. Like, he's always crazy. He always talks trash.
A lot of MMA
but it was sloppy. Like,
people think he might have been on drugs.
His intimidation tactics before the Khabib fight were much sloppier. Like, he just didn't seem as sharp mentally compared to like the previous press conferences that I've seen him do. You know
I think there is a 35% chance that was the last fight we'll ever see Conor McGregor fight.
Like,
and that makes me really sad.
Or?
No, that will. There's a 35% chance that is the last time we will see Conor McGregor as we know him, as a dominant force. I could see him, come back in his 40s, wanting to make a bit of extra money, or later 30s. I could see that. If you follow his Instagram page, do you follow him?
Yeah, I do.
He's touring the country right now. He's making globs of money.
I mean,
I don't necessarily think Conor gave us everything. Like I don't need another Conor fight. I'm not counting on getting another Conor fight. I'm happy with what we got. We got one of the most truly iconic, crazy, psycho Irish motherfuckers that we will ever see on this planet.
Once in a generation type fighter for sure. But yeah, like, it's not dumb for him to stop fighting by any means. Like, he's diversifying his streams of revenue, bottom line, like, he's becoming more of a brand than a fighter. Absolutely.
What do you think of the post-fight shit? Because that's what I have like a ton of thoughts about.
I don't know. I mean,
Did you watch it live or did you?
I did not see it live. No.
Okay.
I think one of the people on Khabib's team that had that cheap shot on Conor, like that was fucked up. That was fucked up.
Conor hit somebody first. I don't know if you saw that aspect of it. So the way it went down was Khabib yells at him. This is to my knowledge from what I've seen online. I've watched a fair amount of like breakdowns of this. He's walking around the octagons yelling, and he sees Dylan Dennis. The moment I saw that he was yelling at Dylan Dennis, I started cracking up. Dylan Dennis is a former professional jiu-jitsu athlete, actually. Jiu-jitsu competitor. They're not fighters who fight jiu-jitsu. They're not even fights. I don't like calling them fights. They're matches because you're not actually throwing punches. It's not a fight.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call him a jiu-jitsu fighter, but a jiu-jitsu athlete who's now an MMA fighter in Bellator, has had one fight. Looked like the most, in the words of Brandon Schaub, alley cat version of Conor McGregor you've ever seen.
Alley cat.
He has the same style, like look-wise, but none of the actual substance. It's like he's like a paper mache version of Conor, who's like really good at leg locks, just randomly. So because he did jiu-jitsu, and he won by leg lock against a guy who really didn't look like he had any idea what he's doing. Who knows how his career will go? But anyway, Dylan's like just a huge shit talker in the jiu-jitsu world. Doesn't really fight anymore in jiu-jitsu. Has only fought once in MMA. Hasn't really competed a lot in the last since he competed at ADCC 2017. Looked really good, but he was what I would say I would put him probably like the second or third tier of like jiu-jitsu guys. But he's very good. Lives in New York. But
does he have beef with Conor?
No, he's Conor's boy. He's Conor's jiu-jitsu coach.
Okay.
And I don't understand what he was yelling. I haven't heard what he was yelling, but he's yelling at him. So Khabib went after him. And you saw he did that jump kick, which everyone thought he landed. You saw the picture of him flying. Yeah. Everyone assumes that landed because from the angle it looks, he's actually off to the left. He missed, and Dylan hit him. Dylan actually, say what you will about Dylan, but Dylan hit Khabib more than I think Khabib hit Dylan because he missed on the kick and stumbled, and then Dylan actually threw a weak little sideways little punch.
One of those side
he was reaching around a guy, so he was it was not exactly like a picturesque punch.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, after that, Conor saw this, and Conor loves Dylan. Really, for whatever, they're really close. They're really, really close. Yeah. Ever since he went out and trained with him for the Nate Diaz, probably has something to do with it. He won that fight. Dylan helped him a lot in specific aspects of that fight that were specific to Nate. Nate's a much better matchup for Conor than Khabib ever was. Because Nate's much better is more of off his back guy than he is going forward. He likes to play guard and stuff.
What you mean matchup is in actual entertainment?
No, matchup is in that because there was such a conflict of styles there.
Exactly.
You saw.
Yeah.
So there was no way we could be close. Yeah. Really, hypothetically,
it would either go completely one way or the other.
It was still a great fight. It was still very entertaining, but it wasn't. You can't say that fight was particularly close. But anyway,
it wasn't a good fight, dude.
Yeah, after Conor gets up on the thing and he punches one of Khabib's guys who's on the thing, trying to get Khabib to come back in the octagon.
Yeah.
And at that point, once Conor jumped down, that's when Conor was attacked. Still doesn't matter. Punched. That being said, you can't do that. Khabib, I get why Khabib went in the stands, and people are saying, "Oh, Conor did the same thing." If you watch the two videos, there's a huge difference.
Well, what
am I referring to?
No, what do you think about the fact, Khabib's response, in the sense of he felt that it was morally just. He justified his actions based off of the trash talk.
I wish that was the world we lived in. I genuinely wish. I genuinely wish that we had better fighting laws in the United States. I think the two consenting adults should be able to fight on the street in the United States. I actually believe that. I think if one person wants to fight and the other doesn't, then it's fucking assault. But if two guys get into an incident and they want to fight, you should fight. Once one guy goes to the ground and is clearly overmatched, then it's done. You walk away.
Like a duel.
Yeah, and you both get some sort of fine or offense, but you don't go to prison. In Brazil, they have better fighting laws. But
you also have to consider
that would change our culture.
From a society standpoint.
I don't know if I really want that. I probably romanticize.
It's a romanticized idea, but you also have to consider what that would. It's like societal unrest. Imagine how you like think about the influence
that would have
of like
that would
people.
fuck
You know what I mean?
people.
Just like seeing that
It
kind of
would make
violence on the
the world. It
streets.
would make the world. It's probably
It's
good.
like how. I mean, do you think that's similar to like how suicide is illegal? Attempting suicide is illegal in the United States.
I still don't think making it illegal or versus legal would have a major impact on the rates. I think the things that have far more impact on the suicide rate are things like the economy,
well, no, I
stability of families in the United States.
no,
have a big
I understand
impact
that.
on
I
it.
just mean like the comparison of, like the government trying to subdue it because of the influence it has. Like if you saw someone jump off a building,
I don't think that has the
I
same
guess
kind
they
of
wouldn't
influence.
consider the.
No, I don't think
crime.
that works the same way.
Yeah.
That being said, I remember that great statistic or belief statistic that I heard from the movie. What was it? The Big Short. For every 1% that the unemployment rate goes up, another 5,000 people kill themselves every year. Which is crazy if that's true. I don't know if that's true, but I remember that movie.
Yeah.
It was some ridiculous number, maybe not 5,000, but a ridiculous number.
You know the unemployment rate right now is extremely low, like lowest it's been in years.
Yeah, but what's so funny about that is Trump is now
I feel like
hyping that up.
I feel like he's manipulating it.
Yeah,
Because,
well, you can manipulate. Obama manipulated too. All the presidents manipulated. There are all these rules where if you don't look for work for like I think it's like 3 months, then you're no longer
you're not
unemployed.
considered like unemployed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so there are all sorts of regulations. People who have jobs that are so inadequately either paying or hours are so weak that they're not actually really making it, going home with anything. Those people are considered employed. And Trump, one of the things I actually liked about Trump as a non-Trump voter was that he railed against this cover-up that our unemployment rate is so low because it paints this picture to the nation of stability.
It's like a soundbite.
Thousands of homeless. We have people out of work. It's a great soundbite, but and it gives this sense of notion that we're doing so great, and it makes people believe, oh, we're doing so great, we should be helping other people. There's so many problems in this country. We can't be helping other people. We deal with our shit.
My like personal philosophy on that is like you always look domestically first. You look at the domestic problems first always, and then you move out.
And yet, of our $1.3 trillion spending bill that just got passed a couple months ago, seven of 1.3 trillion, 770 billion is going to the military. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, it's also important to keep and continue like our like Western influence.
It is
because I mean, also big Asian.
China.
Yeah, China. Bottom line, like
for lack of a better word, China.
Yeah, I mean, China's moving into Africa. They're creating artificial islands in the Asian seas.
Dude,
like they're encroaching upon the Philippines.
But every time I hear about China and Russia doing shit like this, I'm like, well, what the fuck are we doing? Because we're doing some shady shit. I have no doubt. I have zero hesitation in saying that the U.S. government is doing has at least 10 different projects going on right now that 75% of the populace would be like, yikes.
Dude, you want to talk about shady, though? How about the fucking, was the Washington Post journalist that was murdered? Dude, he was disfigured at an
Did you hear what they said?
At an embassy.
Did you hear what they said? They said it was around a fight. I'm sorry, but when you get in a fight with someone and someone dies, even in an awkward situation like that, you don't cut up the body. You don't cut up the body.
It's obviously not a fight, dude.
No,
I mean,
he got assassinated.
Sources are saying that there was a group of trained assassins from, that Mohammed bin Salman, knew about, and they literally beheaded him and tortured him in an embassy.
That's unreal.
And I think it wasn't even Mohammed bin Salman's embassy. I think it was the Turkish embassy, right? I don't know. Hold on. I need to look this up. I don't want to.
The Saudis are hell scared. One thing we never talk about, even after 9/11, when all the information came back, we went to war in the Middle East. We went to war in, I think, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. I don't know if we've been in Iran, but I know we've been in Iraq, Afghanistan. We're clearly not. Neither of us clearly are most well-versed in foreign policy. But still, that being said, we never went to war with Saudi Arabia, despite the fact that they had extreme amounts of ties to 9/11 that their government did. And it's just never been talked about.
Yeah, another thing also is Saudi Arabia is one of the, if not the largest purchase of U.S. weapons manufacturers right now.
They also
which
control
is really
huge
interesting.
aspects of the Silicon Valley. They're heavily.
Yeah.
Did you hear about
Well,
that?
they
I was
invest a
reading
ton of
about
money
this.
into SoftBank Vision Fund.
Yeah, which is just like a that's
It's like
Japan,
it's,
right?
It's the largest venture capital.
Yeah, that's Japan though, right? Yeah, I was reading a story about how essentially they're just funneling because they don't want to be directly tied to it. They funnel it through Japan, but they have huge interest in Silicon Valley. That's why you never hear about this stuff. Because Facebook and Google and all those crazy motherfuckers can put whatever they want you to see. They can choose the kind of content that we're getting. You know, we're so scared about fake news on TV. Fake news on the internet is even crazier.
Oh yeah.
And what they're talking about on Rogan the other day has me extremely terrified. When they're going to be able to make fake video of anyone who has more than 10 hours of video content, we're just not going to be able to believe anything we see on a screen. We are not going to be able to believe that it's real. How are documents going to be worth anything?
Well, it's just based off of credibility of sources, really, don't you
Yeah,
think?
at that point.
I mean, that's the most important thing. Like, the first question that I would have about anyone telling me about facts or figures is, where did they come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's for real. But there's such debate in this country right now about who is fake news and who's not. Because there are some people, like what I think New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, credible sources. There are other people that would say that's all fake news. The only real news is Breitbart.
Yeah.
They would say that though, man.
Well, I mean, like major news and media outlets, in order to have like a sustainable business model, need to cater to fanatics. Like, bottom line, I wish there was some way for like journalists to get paid right to just report the facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how would that have like a subsidized industry, or?
It makes a lot of sense on the surface, right? To subsidize journalists to do good work. To be honest, I feel like journalists, for the most part, I think journalists do really good work. I think that the people that are always going to make good news are going to make it regardless of what they're getting paid, like real, really investigative journalism. And then the people that are interested in peddling in conspiracies and bullshit are always going to make that. Like, I don't think I get what you're saying.
Well, dude,
but
the people who peddle conspiracies are some of the most watched people on the internet.
Alex Jones?
Yeah.
My roommate watched Alex Jones. He claims it's a joke. Lately, I've been feeling like it's not a joke. He really likes Alex Jones. But, you know, what are you going to do?
I really haven't watched any content.
There's this one video of Alex Jones that I think it might be the funniest video of all time. It's him being read a list of names of like significant people and giving one-word answers. So they're like Barack Obama, vampire. Hillary Clinton, vampire. Colin Kaepernick, mental retard. Like, just being so offensive. And then they get to Trump, and he just goes, Moses. And they go, I'm sorry, and he goes,
Moses?
He goes, next level. One of the weirder things, do you know the chick Candace Owens? You know who that chick is? She's the one that was with Kanye. The African American chick. She's a conservative.
She's a politician.
Turning Point. No. She's on. You'll see her on like YouTube.
Is she on the Fade music video? Is that Iman Shumpert's wife?
No, it is not Iman Shumpert's wife.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not. Let me pull this chick out for you. This is like this story. I like don't know how you could believe anything this woman says after I read about her. This woman.
Oh wait, is this the woman who is white?
No. Oh my God, no, that woman.
I know, like Joe Rogan was talking about that.
No, wait, now I gotta get that. Said she was black. Oh my God, if you type in white woman who said it's Rachel Dolezal. That's one of the craziest stories of, I think, the last decade, and no one talks about it anymore. If you don't remember, Rachel Dolezal was this woman who was the head of the NAACP in like Washington State or something.
Oh my God!
You can see what she looks like in this picture. And I'll pull up one from when she was a kid. Oh, here's one. This is what she looked like as a kid versus as an adult. She tanned the shit out of
Insane.
herself, curled her. She painted herself black. That is
Blackface.
Dude. What you know? What's gonna get really scary?
Did she face any repercussions for that
She
kind
got
of thing?
fired.
Or she just became like
she became a social
pariah. Yeah.
But I feel no pity. If you're
No way, man.
if you're a dum dum
would
like
you?
that, you deserve all the hell that comes your way. But anyway,
I mean,
what
she's a
gets
master
scary
of
is
disguise.
what's gonna get scary is when you can literally just actually turn yourself black. Like not in like that way, but you literally.
What are you talking about, man?
Well, one day you're just gonna be able to make. If you're white, you can just be like, yeah, I want black baby.
Then you like step in. Getting like genetically designed children.
Yeah, you're just gonna have a black baby, and you can make him look like LeBron James, or
Yeah.
Thor, or
I personally hope that I'm not alive when that technology happens.
pray to that.
What are some other?
That I don't want to be alive for?
Yeah. What are some other?
There's a whole list of ones I don't want to be alive for. When we start syncing up with robots and you just get robot dicks and have robot hands.
Well, I'm kind of excited about singularity.
Oh, I'm not.
And the prospect of robot.
If you like go with the robots, we're not friends anymore.
But think about like the cybernetic. Okay, what about let's see, like what about like facial recognition, or
we already have that.
maybe
We have that on our
like
phones.
improved eyesight, or audible hearing.
You got that from Logan because that's the one where it gets tricky, where it goes. Because how it's going to start is for people who are already like have a disadvantage. So it's going to be someone who's blind, and you give them robot eyes, and not only can they see 20/20, but they can see that thing in the distance. They can zoom on it and enhance it, and then they can also take a photo of it that's now on their phone.
Do you think we'll be alive for that?
Well, I want that. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I would want it personally.
I would want
that.
I'd want that. Though I don't think we're going to be alive for that, though, because I was listening to something or read something the other day about how the assumption that the rate at which technology increase is going to start decreasing to a degree because all civilizations, because all civilizations that develop immense amounts of technology end up pulling back because they become distracted with the toys aspect of it. The phones are just toys now. They're not. I mean, they're for business. But
they definitely have some practicality.
Yeah, I mean, they have some practical. I take that.
Do you have any games on your phone?
No, I mean like as an object.
I mean, social media is a game.
Social media
in a way.
It's a trap.
Do you delete any like social media apps on your phone?
I don't have. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I tried to delete my Finsta the other day because I was like, dude, I don't want this anymore. I just posted a bunch of dumb shit when I was young.
Finsta's it's a dangerous game.
Well, yeah. I had it when I was like younger. When I was like freshman, sophomore, I really liked it. Posted funny stuff that I thought was just really edgy and funny. Like,
I respect it.
But I don't want it anymore. I don't want it. I'm like, this isn't representative of me.
Is it not though? I mean, I don't know about your particular like feed.
It looks like a time capsule to me. Comes off as a time capsule.
It's almost like an archive of like silly things.
Yeah, being in a totally different mindset.
Well, but for you personally, like you went through a lot of growth this summer. I think, like living with
the last couple of years.
We
had a sick summer. Me and Logan had a bitchin'
summer for sure.
It was awesome. It was the best summer of my life, I would say.
Do you think you're gonna stay in New York next summer? I mean, it's far away, but
it
doesn't hurt.
I would be surprised if I were not here. Like, it would be a surprise to me that the summer would be like not in New York. But if there was like a really good opportunity, like somewhere else that I was like, I can't say no to this. I have to be there for this.
Yeah.
Then I'd go. But it would be pretty hard.
What would be an example of a really good opportunity?
Oh my God. Sometimes I think about that. I'll tell you one right away. There's one company that if I ever had the opportunity to work for them, I would not hesitate for a second. I would literally get on the next plane there and I would just see how it worked out. Is On It. Joe Rogan Supplement Company. They're housed out of Austin. But they have all sorts of really cool stuff. Like they do
drinking the Kool-Aid.
No, dude,
no,
I'm not. No, but he's not even really involved with it. He's not that involved in it. It's mostly this guy Aubrey Marcus. But yeah, you could say I'm drinking the Aubrey Marcus Kool-Aid. Because listening to Aubrey Marcus, Joe Rogan is really a fun podcast to listen to, but I actually find that more of my personal growth comes from listening to guys like Aubrey Marcus, who's talking about, like, I think at its core, what his podcast is about is let's bring people who really understand a lot of different aspects of human behavior and society, and let's try and get to the core of what this human
What's their
shit
thought
is.
process?
Not their
Or-
thought process, but what this human thing is for all of us. Like, what does it mean to be
Human?
the dominant species on a large or very small, depending on your perspective, rock hurtling through outer space? Because that is freaky.
Well,
That's freaky, man.
I mean, sometimes like when I was younger, actually, I believe it less so now, and it depends on your definition. But like, I actually used to think I don't really believe in God, but like I actually think that because of the degree of how much more dominant human beings are than like all other species on Earth, that human beings are kind of divine in a way. And I mean, like you can take that definition in any way you want, but like we are exceptional.
Yeah, so
I mean,
there are certain people that have a very strong belief in like the transcendence, that human beings are like the transcendent species, that we are like forever on this upward climb.
I don't know about that.
I'm not necessarily a big believer in this. We're the closest thing to gods. We are near
Absolutely.
gods. Like our ability, just the difference in our ability to communicate and animals' ability to communicate is so wide. And I think we undervalue that because we see our dogs barking at each other and we're like, oh, their friends are talking. No, they're not. They have like, I have like a couple.
They have like three.
Yeah, they have positive, they have negative, and they have neutral. I feel like they have 3 states.
Or like, let's fuck.
Yeah, but that's just positive. Like a guy being really, really positive, girl being really, really positive, girl dog, guy dog. That's their thing. There's not this complex romanticism that we can combine with our patriarchal
like
notions. Yeah, we can, and then we can What's so crazy is we can assemble the narrative of what human romanticism is, and then we can deconstruct that narrative. And in arts and movies and in television shows, make commentaries about both the construction and deconstruction of that narrative. They are nowhere near that.
No.
It'd be like if they suddenly gained telepathy. Like, but
that's exactly why I think like it's just it's strange to me, like based off of the laws of nature, how much more dominant human beings are.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's all and it was all about the brain power.
We didn't just conquer the world. We conquered the world. Then we captured all the other shit that lives in the world, and we put them in cages.
We harnessed it.
That we take our kids to see when they're young. And when we're an adult, we don't even give a fuck
Think
anymore.
about that, man.
We don't even give a fuck. It's crazy, dude.
I wonder if like any like chimp species have something similar. Like, do you think there's any like forms of slavery or anything like that?
No, the coolest one that I've ever heard, the coolest like most interesting like animal behavior thing that I've heard of was classically on a Rogan episode about wolves. Wolves, they think, are one of the only other animals that really has like a partying gene of like excess. Partying. So like they are excessive.
So they'll take down a huge animal.
No, they'll go into these like frenzies where they'll kill like 20 elk and eat like 3.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah, they'll kill whole like herds and just get rid of half the meat because they're like, we gotta go on.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, which is super weird because we do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I say as we sit in the backyard from last night where some people were hanging out, enjoying a few drinks.
Having a few.
Yeah, man. I miss living here. It's funny. I texted you and I didn't even ask if I was coming over here. I told you I was coming over here.
Well, I wouldn't have texted you in the first place.
Yeah, because
Yeah. That's why I texted you and Shane. We should get that group chat going.
We gotta get that group chat going, man. It was so fun living here. I loved it, dude. We had such a good vibe. Like at the end when it was you, me, Shane, and Stu, we were just fooling. Matt too. Matt, you were an awesome role model, adult figure in our lives. I looked
Matt
up.
Seacat?
Yeah, dude, I looked up to that kid a lot.
Shout out to Matt.
Matt, I really looked up to Matt.
The
Matt,
Rock.
He had his shit together so well.
Well, he balanced. He had a really good sense of balance.
Yeah, dude. He knew he had work to get done, but he also like always was with his girlfriend. Wanted to hang out. He's just down to play video games. I love that. He's just down to play some Black Ops all the time. Good times, man.
Yeah, I think like it may not seem like a big deal in the moment, but like roommate selection is huge. I think it's like so integral to.
And there are gonna be people in your life that you're really good friends with you can't live with.
Yeah.
Probably all 3 of my roommates from not from this past year. Yeah, all of those guys, I love them as people, but I don't necessarily think any of us were a great fit. I was with Matt and Ken and Sam Sherwin.
Wait, was that last year?
It was sophomore year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Love all those guys, but it was never really a great fit. A lot of it was my fault, but I would probably take responsibility for most of the disagreements that we had. I would say half. Ken can be petty sometimes. I know his roommates
takes two to tango.
Yeah, it definitely does take two to tango. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
makes a big difference.
Scientifically, the people you spend the most time with, you take on their mannerisms and qualities,
being friends with Shane has totally changed my diet. I eat so much less. Kid never eats, and I just started at some level hanging out with him. We just I don't eat nearly as much as I did when I lived in Third North. Was growing up, I'd always eat. I'd always eat food when I was even just a little hungry. I never was ever let myself get super hungry. I just forget to eat all the time. Maybe that's just because I'm getting older and I'm busier.
What's your diet like right now?
My diet was phenomenal this summer. My diet has gone to absolute shit. I eat crap, man. I eat so bad. Because it's just a little frustrating. The kitchen we have is not nearly as nice. There's not enough counter space.
It's smaller.
So small.
Yeah.
I hate that it's gas stove. I love the electric. It's so clean. It's flat. Never have to worry about things tilting. I hate the burners. I've knocked over the burner thing 3 times. I knocked my dishes off of it while I'm cooking eggs, and it is a nightmare. Burned the shit out of my leg once. And so I definitely have let that frustrate me, and so I don't eat as healthy because it's so frustrating to cook there at times.
Do you think it's easy to eat healthy when you go out to eat? Rather than
the amount of money you have to spend is not actually a huge difference, but it adds up very quickly.
Yeah.
It's the difference from $8 to about $12 to $13, and that adds up after only about 3 meals. All of a sudden, you've spent almost $40 versus $24.
Percentage-wise, 8 to 13 is huge. It's huge.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, dude.
So I would say it's really hard if you are in a financial situation where you have to be conscious.
Dude, I think I spend outside of my rent and utilities, I would say 70% of my income goes to food.
Really frustrating. I had a conversation with my parents about this. This is so crazy about stuff. I had a really interesting conversation with my mom the other day about food. And even if I were to cook for every dinner meal weeknight, which is pretty much all I can do because I either have class on campus or I work. Can't come home at 2 o'clock in the middle of the day to make food just to go back. I need that time to do math problems and stuff because at night I'm tired and I don't always want to do it.
Yeah.
Math problems. I'm not in a single math class, but do homework. And we were just breaking it down. And after I pay utilities and I owed my roommates a little bit of money for different things, I still owe you for Con Ed. Just reminded me.
No worries.
You have there's not much left over for even for food.
Yeah.
And then of course I'm an idiot and buy things I don't really need sometimes. Next thing you know, you're just
does.
Do you ever get really guilty about purchases? Do you have buyer's remorse?
I think with clothing sometimes.
Clothing, I get buyer's remorse.
Well, I think I never get buyer's remorse for things that serve a functional purpose.
If I use it a lot, I'll forgive myself.
Almost even no matter the cost. If it's a part of my daily life, it's a good purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big tech person. I hate wasting money on bullshit
I haven't got my phone upgraded in a while. I just at this point.
Yeah, dude, I never get I don't even like to update my phone.
I don't update software.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like it's so buggy and shit.
It's funny that you still have tech because I'm not either. I don't. When I was younger, I always would want to get the new phone, ask my parents and stuff. But now I just want my phone to not be cracked. That's all I'm hoping for. And I don't wear a case. I don't have a case on mine, so of course it is cracked.
It's contradictory.
The dumbest thing at our date party. This date event we went to a while back. I had a phone in my back pocket and I slipped and I fell with my dates and I cracked her screen. This was a year ago.
Were you guys close?
Still had to pay for it. Not close enough to be ending those.
How did you pay for it? Did you with money or not by other means?
No, I paid for it with money. I paid for it. But moving on.
How was day party last weekend?
Good.
Good time.
Yeah, moving on from that. What do I want to talk about? Oh, I had the most interesting thing. Phones. What was I going to say about phones?
Well, what about I kind of miss the days where everyone had their own type of phone. Yes.
Bring that back.
Like I had bring it back. Apple, Google,
But I feel like companies have done that.
It all looks the same.
I feel like companies have done that. Like have given you ways to customize the back of your phone to make it look unique, and it's just failed. If I could have any phone, though, that being said, my favorite looking one is the Google one. The Google one.
The Pixel?
The Pixel.
Have you used it?
In Verizon stores and in Best Buy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like so many. It's like, no, I don't want that green text bubble.
No green text. That's it. That's all that's stopping me at this point.
Beautiful idea from Apple. Like, basically, like making people feel alienated. In at least like, I would say in college, maybe it's not as much of a big deal.
I think we're about to get a call in. I think we're about to get a caller.
You getting a call?
Yeah, I'm calling Shane back. This will be perfect. Wait, I need to plug this in. Is there an outlet for me to plug into out here?
Yeah, there's one right there.
Yo, where are you?
Shane, you're on you're live on the podcast.
Oh, what's up?
You got something to say?
Just happy to be on. A little starstruck, I must say.
It's okay.
What's up? Why are you calling?
I was wondering where you were.
Oh, I'm at Logan's. Were you alone? Were you alone?
No, I just did a check-in.
You did a check-in? Unreal. All right, well, I'll talk to you later, dude. All I can hear in the background is the ambulance.
It's really annoying.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this off. Goodbye.
Probably fucks the audio. Yeah, you need to plug in your charger.
Yeah,
Can you pause this or anything?
No, that's what's frustrating. No pausing when you're doing the live streaming. Sorry, we're taking a quick intermission to plug my computer in. Right back. Sorry for the little
We're
intermission.
back.
We took a quick little break. I actually saw something on your desk while we were inside that really interested me. A book about marketing the American dream.
Yep.
Looked really interesting. That like immediately got me thinking.
About what?
I for work I walk down 34th a lot.
Like Midtown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on 34th there's just like stores, just so many stores. Like
It's all retail.
it's all retail, and I cannot believe that we are buying so much to keep that many stores in business. How can there be that many clothing stores?
Yeah. Well, for those of you,
my mind.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, I work in marketing and also like interested in media, business of media. But yeah, one interesting trend. I don't know if this is like a new thing, but I feel like people have been spending money outside of their what's the word I'm looking for here?
Means.
Yeah, spending outside of their means, like on like particularly fashion. Like I feel like I'm seeing people with like girls with $1,000 bags from Gucci and Louis Vuitton and shit. And like they like
My roommate's got some Pradas
They
that I was
don't-
looking at the other day. They're beautiful. But
it's like they're $700, right?
but if you take away the golden little Prada logo that's on the inside of the
Yeah.
foot, pretty sure I could find the same pair for like
Yeah,
$60.
and that's another thing. Like branding is so powerful, and like storied brands like Gucci, like and Louis Vuitton, like Nike, of course, they use that. Obviously, they use it to their advantage to increase the price, and one of my good friends from Italy, his family runs a leather repair shop. Like globally, like they have big clients like Prada. Like they do a lot of the U.S. repairs. Like
Really?
almost all of the North American repairs.
Wait, so how does that work? Like repairing what? Stuff that's already
So shoes, bags.
that's already been bought, or stuff that hasn't?
Yeah. So basically, like someone, say you buy like a really nice leather jacket or leather shoes, and you want them repaired. Like that company doesn't actually repair them; they outsource the work to another.
Really?
Yeah. So and one of my friend's families works in this business, and he says that like most of the Gucci products are trash, like in terms of like actual genuine leather quality and durability. It like they're just taking advantage of the brand or
their brand name.
Yeah, and like I don't know if people will ever like catch on to that sort of thing, because I mean, in this day and age, we're also seeing like $300 T-shirts,
Ripped T-shirts, $300 ripped. T-shirts.
Also Supreme, like hoodies like this. I mean, this isn't that expensive, but
What is that?
this was a Roger Federer
That's pretty cool.
collaboration with Nike.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like
got
that
it
a
at
lot.
Kith.
I was wondering what that
For
is.
all you hype beasts out there.
I've never been to Kith.
Really?
I've heard of it, obviously.
Yeah.
They make like ice cream there too, though, right?
Yeah. So a lot of like, since retail is dying, like brick and mortar, Sears, for example, declared bankruptcy a few weeks back.
I remember going to Sears as like a kid.
Yeah, man, and it was like several decades ago. It was considered like an absolute revolution in retail, and now it's like a thing of the past. But like basically, newer companies are, instead of utilizing retail to actually make money, like retail stores, flagship stores, they're using it to promote their own brand and to like create a brand narrative and be unique. Like say, have a clothing store, but also sell ice cream.
There's a bunch that do that now that have like.
Yeah. Or like Supreme, where, obviously like they sell clothing, but they also, their foundations are rooted in skate culture. So, you can buy like skateboard decks. I think you can repair your skateboard or like buy trucks there, that kind of thing.
Where? Sorry.
Supreme.
At Supreme. Yeah, they're just like a skate company. Theirs is just like their strategy is just the low production.
Limited release.
Scarcity.
Yeah, limited release.
I think scarcity is the
They
economic
basically
concept.
create scarcity in the market. And like, I don't know, I'm concerned about the culture for sure. With like, the other, like, last Christmas, me and my friend were in Soho. We had to pick something up at a store, and we were, Bathing Ape? Heard of that brand? Okay,
They have a store?
Yeah, they have a store in Soho.
I did not know that.
Kid Cudi, actually, fun fact, Kid Cudi used to work at Bathing Ape in the Soho store,
way.
and his first ever concert was in the Bathing Ape store.
Wow.
Yeah, like years ago.
I love Kid Cudi. Shout out.
And what was that talking about? Bathing Ape?
Bathing Ape, yeah. You had to go to
yeah. Okay, yeah. So I had to pick something up with my friend across the street from Bathing Ape. And Bathing Ape was doing a release of some collection or something during the holidays. And I look at the line of people waiting in Bathing Ape, right? And, like, it's a very street-centric brand. Like a lot of...
I don't think it's very good looking, personally.
Yeah.
It's too loud. Way too loud for me.
It's really loud, for sure.
Way too loud for me.
It's like, like, trap and hip hop is like, they're super influenced by Bathing Ape style.
They're more edgy.
Yeah. They have, like, some shiny ass zippers and
they do
stuff like that.
They do too much for me. And they have, like, teeth on. Isn't the one with the teeth?
Yeah, that's one of their iconic.
Yeah,
hoodies.
I don't like that one. I really don't like that hoodie. The zip up one that does the shark.
Yeah.
God, that thing is hideous.
That'll run you like $800.
That thing is a monster.
Anyway, so back to the story. I see this line, right? It's like 3 blocks long, and you know who's standing in line? It's a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds, like kids between the ages of 10 and like 15, with their parents' money, just like waiting in line to buy them.
I think they'll outgrow that, right?
Who will outgrow it?
Those kids. But then there'll be new kids.
No, the kids will. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the fact that, like, these brands, that, like, in my eyes used to be really cool, are, like, their brand value is being lowered by the consumer, basically, like, by these kids who are just, like, rich, and they're maybe from the suburbs or from Long Island or something, and they'd ask their dad, if they can get like $600 sneakers or something. Like, I just don't think it, like, those brands weren't initially created to serve that audience, and now their primary market is like these fucking Fortnite hypebeast kids.
Dude, Fortnite's the scary one, and like e-gaming, I don't know. I think
esports. I actually wanted to talk about esports.
I think we can't even predict what we're doing to kids nowadays. I feel horrible for, like, the kids that are growing up now. They're growing up in, like,
every generation says
that. Every generation says that. Every generation says that. And I'll say it too. You know what? I'm nostalgic.
Like A$AP Rocky said, like, in or one of his songs on his latest album was like, the kids will be all right. You know what I'm saying?
They will.
Like, every generation of children has a different, like, struggle, or like there's a new drug, or like there's a new, like, dangerous.
What do you think the struggle of our generation is? Because I think I know.
Well, opiates, I would say, is a major, like, a physical struggle. One of my friends actually was addicted to opiates and started using. He started using heroin, and this is a kid that I've known since I was like 5 years old. Yeah, he's doing really well now, and he actually, like, at one point when, his normal dealer was like, oh, do you want to try this new drug? It's, like, way stronger. And it was fentanyl. And then he started using fentanyl a little bit, and then things took a turn really quick. And then he checked himself into rehab.
That's really good, dude.
And now he's doing really well, actually.
But I think that that might be the one thing. I'll just say what I think. I think you could see huge numbers of our generation in a way that people haven't seen before from drugs dying from opioids. I think you could see it in huge percentages, like major chunks of our, particularly our age group, people. I'd say 18 to 28 right now, dealing with that. I think that will be our smoking. That's going to be our like
smoking what?
Like the same way that there had to be this huge campaign to get people to stop smoking cigarettes. I think the same thing is going to have to happen for opioids.
The thing is opiates, they're easily accessible, but they're not as easily accessible as cigarettes. Like, one comparison I would draw cigarettes to is this guy right here. This fucking epidemic that we have. You know what
I don't think they're that dangerous, personally. I really don't. I'm in the minority.
But this is like the cigarette
And
of today for kids, I'd say.
These are really polarizing. They're really polarizing. If you like, you could get the South Park just did an episode on it. You know you're polarizing with South Park. Their episode this week. I'm a big South Park guy. I watch it always. Like I've seen every episode. I've always stayed up to date with it. It's called Integrity Farms, and I'll just give like a little synopsis of the episode. Essentially, Stan's dad, Randy, has like a total freak out one day, and is just like, I cannot take this, because if you've been following the season of South Park, they've been making a lot of jokes about gun violence and just all sorts of stuff, and like a lot of topical stuff, and he just can't take it anymore. The way a lot of Americans feel, I think, with all the drama going on in our country right now. And so he decides to just go out in the middle of Colorado and open up a farm. It turns out it's a weed farm, and the what he calls the pussy vape community like comes out to try and buy his weed farm, and he has to go to battle with big vaping.
Big vape.
Yeah.
Big tobacco.
Instead of big tobacco, big vaping.
But the thing is like when I went to boarding school, and like there were a lot of nicotine products that would circulate.
Boarding school, I know, like that shit's huge
in the community. But the thing is when I'm a senior in college now, but when I went to boarding school like 4 years ago, vaping was so lame. Like the only kids, like a lot of the kids that vaped at my school were, for the most part, not very popular. It wasn't that socially accepted.
Seen as cool.
Not seen as cool at all. And now, I go
because
to
of the look of the thing. I think the devices,
it's the product design.
They were large and they were clunky. They were big boxes,
and they were like you were blowing like fat clouds.
And then they were very noticeable. It was very loud, as we were saying before, a loud stylistic decision, and they fucking changed.
But this, like, people that don't know think this is a USB or some shit like that.
They can fit in your hand like this. You'd never know I had one. Just sitting here here.
Sleek. It's very sleek.
It's the Apple. They call them the Apple of the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
And they are. It's so minimal. When this thing goes off, it turns a little tiny light on so you know it's working. People complain about them breaking a lot. They really never really break. They're pretty reliable.
Yeah, I mean, I put them through some damage.
Yeah, sure. they get wet. You drop them constantly. You lose
I've had so many, dude. I just lose them. I lose them.
You have a panic attack every time you lose it. I bet.
Little one sometimes. One time, all right. I don't know how I feel about sharing this story, but
you used to accuse me all the time of taking when I first left here. He used to just
I accuse everybody. I lose my jewel for 30 seconds, and I'm like,
Luke, do you have it?
Do you have it? Like, dude. But one time I was in a yellow cab, my jewel on the seat of the cab, and whatever. I got to my destination, left the cab, checked my pants for the jewel, of course, and I realized it wasn't there, and that I had left it on the cab, and the cab was still in like eye shot. So I start sprinting after the cab in the East Village just to like run down and get my jewel, and I didn't get it. But after that, I was like, what am I doing? Running after this fucking vape.
A stick.
But yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like, I would say I'm like relatively addicted to nicotine. I hope to not use the jewel like 5 years down the line.
Yeah, I feel that. It's definitely not.
And I've taken like hiatuses or just been around family where, like I feel like when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Yeah. And I think that's the case with most substances. Like if you're around people
that are doing it,
or just like older, family members, like they're not going to have a jewel. So, but then when I come back to New York and I go to a fucking party,
even if you
everybody has a jewel.
Even if you don't have one, you see other people hitting it, and you're just like, yeah, okay, get a rip.
Yeah,
that's become the most iconic phrase.
Can I get a rip?
Can I get a rip? Everyone knows what you're talking about. Can I get a rip?
Sometimes people just like look at me. And I know what they want. Like, I know that they want to rip my jewel. Like, they don't even need to say it.
It's crazy.
They just go like, yo. And then, yeah.
And we have so many little phrases for it. Like, I call it the suck all the time.
I get a suck.
I get a suck. Can I get the succotash? That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying lately in the apartment. Can I get the succotash?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Do you think it's a trend? Like, do you think it's just like a fad, or is the jewel here to stay?
Well,
What do you think?
It's a tough question because as far as like a technological item, I want to say it's a trend because even to a degree, I think Facebook is a trend. Nothing is a trend unless it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Maybe not that long, like 50. No, trends just can be small.
You can have fucking,
weak trends, long trends.
Trends that last several years.
Yeah, but do I think this will be around in a decade? The jewel will be around in a decade? Probably not. Will nicotine consumption
via vapor?
Via vapor? No, I would just say, will nicotine consumption be a major part of young people's lives in, like, but when I say young people, like 16, 17-year-olds, like that's
maybe like
even
16
earlier,
to 24.
even earlier. 16 to 24, will nicotine consumption? Absolutely, because nicotine itself has a whole host of properties that is not necessarily negative. I think we're going to eventually get it off of being on the vapor. I think it's going to become some sort of pill or a like something you can chew that is purely nicotine.
I personally disagree.
Nicotine consumption is here to stay.
I agree with you on that fact, but like taking it in other forms, I mean, we already have products like that, but I think it's also like some people have jewels just because it's also like a social thing, or like, I mean, some people start smoking cigarettes because it's a social thing, and I think like that's part of the allure of nicotine consumption, or just like smoking cigarettes or smoking jewels. Like, I mean, smoking cigarettes more so, but like going outside and having a conversation with someone, or like asking for them for a lighter, stirring up a conversation, or just like it's more of an act. It's an art. It's not an art form. I don't want to say it's an art form, but it's like an activity. It's almost like ritualistic. Whereas like if you take nicotine via pill form or gum form, like it's not the same. Can't be the same.
Yeah, there is very social aspect, and there's the habitual aspect of this motion.
Yeah,
and the inhalation. And like
exactly.
That's pretty hard to replicate. Maybe what we're gonna do is I think that nicotine's here to stay, but I think eventually we're gonna master it to the point where we can be certain. The problem is the nicotine has one pretty negative effect, and people don't really. I think the bigger problem is that people are uneducated in our country about what nicotine actually is and what is actually in these. So essentially, what this is nicotine flavoring. Yeah, nicotine flavoring, and this chemical that is the same thing that bonds your toothpaste to itself. That's probably not going to do anything bad. I'm pretty sure, because there's already a lot of data of what happens to that stuff when you put it in your body. Your body just breaks it down really quick. Nicotine, we know it does one bad thing, and it does also a lot of tiny little good things. One bad thing is that it increases the adrenaline. This is what I've read and what I understand. So don't take this to be scientific fact. I know a lot of doctors aren't necessarily going to say this though, because you can't really be a pro. Yeah, you can't really be a pro smoking doctor. That doesn't exist. Doctors haven't even come around to accepting marijuana, which is just, to me, well, just to go on a quick side note, I think that it really disappoints me sometimes that I at times feel like I have to be concerned about sharing my opinions about marijuana. It's one of the things I worry about on here. But the other day I realized fuck it. If someone's not gonna fucking hire me because I think that marijuana makes my life better in the same way that having a drink when you come home has made Americans' lives better for decades and decades, then that's probably someone I don't really want to work for. I'll be honest, I think that it's a useful compound, but a lot of people won't admit that. Yeah. But I think nicotine's the same way. I think it is a useful compound because while it does increase the amount of adrenaline in your heart, and that has potentially
people the U.S. government used to give their soldiers cigarettes because of the benefits it had in terms of it calms you, it increases focus, it keeps you awake, when you're on those.
Gets rid of your hunger. That's why the best thing to give,
it also suppresses
if you're not going to give a homeless person a meal, far better than ever giving them alcohol would be to, which is a depressant. It's one of the worst things you give them.
You saying give them a cigarette?
giving them a cigarette is like actually one of the best things you can do for them because it keeps them warm. One, it's like a warm little light. It's heat, and then two, it suppresses your hunger the same way coffee does. So that's why people gain weight when they stop smoking. Because
Yeah, I know.
Their appetite is increased.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish that there was an openness to investigate this shit. People are so anti. I feel like there is. We try and say we're pro science, but that's a load of crap. Like we aren't really willing to like go all the way. We don't study the true. We allow like really really dangerous drugs that don't have a history of being negative in this country. Like opioids were allowed to before people realized that they were dangerous. Doctors were told they were non-addictive. They were non-habit forming. They told people that OxyContin, Purdue, the company that makes OxyContin, was telling the doctors that when they were teaching them about this, we know this to be non-habit forming, when in fact it was, and they knew about it. Meanwhile, the most in-depth investigation that we've done of marijuana is, in the 70s, they took monkeys and put breathing apparatuses over their mouth and pumped them full of marijuana, but didn't give them any oxygen until they were comatose, and then discovered, shockingly, marijuana kills brain cells. That's just like
what also kills brain cells? Lack of oxygen.
Yeah. I remember when I heard that for the first time when I was like probably like 15 and I like just started smoking weed and I started to like
you out a little?
No, and I started to learn not that story, but I heard the whole cover up, like the whole weed conspiracy, which is the reefer madness and the fact that the reason that marijuana, you used to be able to buy hemp anywhere, you used to be able to get CBD oil over the counter as recently as the 30s.
You can today.
Yeah, now you once again you can today, but for decades you couldn't. And that all had to do not with marijuana, not with fears that of reefer madness, but it was because the paper industry, an industry that we've killed off ourselves with technology, was scared of a superior product that was hemp. The first two versions of the Declaration of Independence were written on hemp paper.
It's a sign.
Nobody talks about it, man.
Coincidence?
And people wanted to believe that this was the root of evils and it was a drug that'll make you go mad. And it's just the silliest thing because anyone who's ever smoked pot knows that the worst thing that you're going to do if you're high as hell is probably eat some junk food.
Yeah. Well, just to play devil's advocate,
yeah,
though,
you can go ahead. I'd actually
like
love
to
to do
say,
that.
because I feel like I do that all the time, but
you're good at that.
A couple things like early development of teenagers, I think. That's one thing that concerns me. Like I would say people between the ages of 13 and 18 should not be smoking weed every day.
Yeah.
By any
100%,
means.
100% agree with that.
It's not good. It's not a good idea. And I mean, I don't know. I can't pull any like conclusive facts.
Yeah.
I mean, there probably are, but like
same can be said for pretty much all substances though. At those age groups, alcohol is, I would say, just as bad. I would say worse.
No, alcohol is worse.
If you have to pick a drug from every day from 13 to 18 to consume, I will much rather give the person weed than I will alcohol.
Yeah. And like the potential violent outcomes from alcohol are much worse. But I will say, so early development stages. Also operating machinery. Like I personally, like I think marijuana is great, but like I don't believe in doing it necessarily on the job.
Do you know how long it took for them to have the first driving citation for marijuana in Canada after they recreationally legalized
30
it?
minutes.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
An hour and a half is how long it took for some motherfucker to roll down his car smoking a joint. How dumb do you have to be? Like that's like a really like you've now made it look bad for everyone. You suck.
Yeah.
You suck. I just
and I think
frustrates me
and I
so
think
much.
like there's also just so many different degrees of being under the influence of marijuana. Like it's hard to measure. But for example, like I actually personally know someone who he had never done dabs. For those of you who, how would you explain what dabs are?
A dab is essentially a concentrate. So you've taken from the weed. So there's a bunch of different cannabinoids in marijuana. Two most famous are THC and CBD.
Mhm.
What's interesting that I learned recently about CBD is everyone always talks about being non-psychoactive. That's actually not true. It's just it's not impairing. They call it non-impairing, but it does have psychoactive properties. They're just not as clear on what they are. But they can't say that they think that there is a combination. When CBD comes into in combination with THC, it has psychoactive effects. But anyway,
but bottom line, THC is far more psychoactive. It's like the people where they're like, I'm so high.
It's what makes you super like
and the best currently the best weed out there, whatever California medicinal stuff, strains like the highest form of THC concentrate just from like the plant itself is like 30%, 35%. Like there's usually nothing higher than that. However, with the dab concentrate, it's like 90?
Yeah. And there's a lot of after we talk about this, there's something I want to go into that I've learned recently about this that's really interesting. But yeah, dab you're talking about 90+%.
Yeah, so obviously a lot stronger.
Yeah.
People with like higher tolerances should be doing that stuff, or people who who need it because they're severely in pain.
I have a little bit of a different opinion on this. I actually don't believe that there is any value in doing dabs. I think that it is a completely
reliever?
I think it is a completely misguided endeavor.
Okay, but anyway, back to the downsides of like using marijuana. So my friend did a dab, and he had never done one before, and he was like really stoned, and he got behind the wheel of a car and he drove off the road, and the cops, and he banged up his car, and he called the cops, saying, hey, I just got into an accident. They came and he threw up in front of the police, but so they're like, oh, let's breathalyze him, and he didn't, he hit 0.00, but he was high as hell. And they were like, what the hell is wrong with this kid? They're like, what's going on with this kid?
I actually almost did that once. I almost did that once. I would have 100% done that had there not been someone else in the car who was also high, but far less high than me.
Exactly.
Really scary at that time when I was in high school, almost driving the car way too high after I took a bong rip.
Yeah, so like that's an example of like, I feel like there's also this persona of like a lot of people that are adopting that are like, weed is amazing. It's good for everything. Like it's not. It's positive in every way. It's not.
Especially modern.
Clearly, I mean, he got into that. He probably wouldn't have gotten into that accident if he didn't take a dab. Like, thankfully, nobody was hurt. But like, that's just an example of,
100%.
Smoking weed definitely doesn't make you better at
where it's
operating
gonna get
machinery.
Where it's gonna get tricky is when someone gets caught speeding and they're high and they're like, "Fuck, I was speeding, 100%. You got me." But it's not because I'm high, and they breathalyze them, or they test their THC or they test their THC in their blood. That's totally silly.
Yeah, but
because
it's not causation.
THC. The amount of THC in your body actually has often very little to do with actually how high you are. Because I probably have tons of THC in my body right now, not very high. It's just all excess left over from yesterday because it stays and it stays and it stays. What's very difficult and what we're not that close to being able to do, we can do it in a lab. We're going to be able to do it in a lab really soon, is we're going to be able to test your cannabinoid system. This is like brand new stuff. And what it is the cannabinoid system is the system that processes all the different cannabinoids from the plant, the THC, the CBD, and there's dozens upon dozens of others, very, very small, that come in very small quantities. And they have all sorts of effects that we're like just learning about. For example, your cannabinoid system is what's called a super system, meaning it regulates in very, very minute ways all different parts of your body, from like muscle soreness to joint flexibility, like all these different things it has very, very small effects for. And and but you can't just look at the plant and see and tell you how it's going to affect, because it's all about how it interacts with your cannabinoid
body
system, which is totally unique. This is what makes it like so cool.
Can you get like a reading of
very soon you're going to be able to get a really, really full. They're just starting to do this now, and they have very like basic, like elementary versions, but it's only going to get better and better. And soon we are going to be able to figure out what kind of cannabinoids you're going to be putting in your body, which is when we're going to start realizing how people like to say we have the best weed ever of all time today. And In certain respects, it is. In certain respects, it isn't. The weed we have today has more THC than ever before, but that has to do with why it was prohibited. So for a very long time, weed was illegal in many places in the world.
Its growth was
the United
impeded.
States.
Yeah, its development was
So
impeded.
if I'm
for
a
sure.
salesperson and I'm making marijuana, or I'm a drug dealer,
But how is it not the best?
So that,
Is it-
I'm
is
going to
it-
get to that.
okay,
I'm gonna get to that.
okay.
This is really,
Right.
this is going to blow your mind, I think, actually.
Okay.
So if I'm I'm a cartel owner, and I'm trying to make the most amount of money for my land space, and it's very hard to get into people's hands, and people are having trouble getting it into their hands, so they want the most bang for their buck. And when they think of weed, what do we associate with? THC, that chemical, that feeling. So the more THC I can get into my weed, the better it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
The more I'm going to be able to sell it
Well,
for, the higher value
yeah.
it has.
Mm-hmm.
So they started cultivating it in such a way, very similarly to the mistakes that the United States made when growing wheat all throughout the 20th century, and mistakes that the European countries, specifically like Italy, the Mediterranean countries, didn't make. You want to know why those people can eat so much pasta and bread and rice?
Because of their genetic makeup.
One, it's their genetic makeup, but two, their wheat is genetically different than ours. It has a different gluten to protein and sugar ratio.
No, I've heard about that.
Yeah, so it has a different gluten to protein to sugar ratio. Same thing with THC. As the more THC the weed contains, the less CBD and other compounds it has. Meaning that what we're smoking today is drastically different than the weed our parents and our parents' parents were smoking in the 40s and 50s and 60s that led to things like the psychedelic revolution. I think that there's a reason to believe that THC is not essentially the best medicinal compound that is in weed. That it's actually the combination of THC, CBD, and the others. So we think, oh, I want the highest THC concentration. That may make you feel the highest.
Yeah, it depends on
and
what
if
you're
that's
looking
your goal,
for
then
sure.
that's great. But as far as like what I think most Americans are looking for, they might think that's what they're looking for, but I don't think that is the reality of it. I think that we want something that's a little more balanced. It doesn't make you so much of a zombie.
Well,
at
I think,
times.
I also think like the demographic of a weed smoker is so broad now.
So
Like, it's actually amazing. Like, there's not really that stoner label doesn't really exist as much anymore. I mean, there are still
occasionally
stoners.
there are people that really fit into that.
Yeah,
But
no,
the modern
Yeah.
stoner is much broader. They're oftentimes very interested in things. They have a lot of passions.
yeah.
I consider myself a stoner. I mean, I like to get high on a regular basis. I find that more
What
often
is a
than not
stoner? What do you think you're? Because I've actually.
I think I fit
thought
into the
about this
category,
before.
but I don't know what it is anymore. Okay? There's the stoner, you see it on the street, but that isn't what I'm saying in this context. There's two different usage of it. You can point to someone, that guy's a stoner. But I'm also a stoner, but in a very different sort of way.
Yeah, and I think actually, like, it's not even about how much you physically smoke. I think it's about what you do, like outside around it, and what you're doing with it. Like, what are your activities external to smoking weed? Because like there can be people who smoke weed every day, but they also like make six figures and have a family or something like that.
Well,
which isn't,
yeah, but it's not just that. It's the fact that people are far more like complex than just the one dimensional.
exactly.
Because there are times where people are going to smoke weed and they're going to be extremely productive. Like smoking weed, drinking a cup of coffee is like a great way to go into a day. I find that is like a great way to like go at if you're just trying to get busy work done. That could be a great way to attack it.
I've never tried that, but you do a lot of creative.
Yeah, I mean, I do
writing,
jujitsu.
so.
I do jujitsu like while smoking weed, and I've read online that certain people are bothered by that, like the idea that you'd be training like a pretty violent martial art where you're trying to choke and break people's arms. It just helps your creativity in such an unbelievable way. You're so much more like dynamic. Like you're like the ideas about how you can interlace your body with your opponent's body are just like on another level. I found.
Do you think your output for like say when you smoke weed and have a coffee or whatever, do you think your output is higher?
I don't do that
for writing,
regularly.
like for writing.
Oh, for writing, yeah.
But in like in terms of volume or quality, or both.
I would probably say volume, actually.
Yeah.
Personally, I would say volume.
Because I think you can maybe have a lot of ideas, but they might not necessarily be good ideas.
I found that that's the case. That
Guaranteed.
I'll throw away a lot of the stuff I write when I'm high, but it'll be the ideas. It'll be the big things like the characters and their relationships. I'll be
The
things,
macro.
Yeah, the big things. I'll be left over. And then again, the style that I write in is like a very weird, like style that really isn't popular in America anymore. It's like the extreme conservative language of like guys like Hemingway and Raymond Carver. Like I like
stoic,
people.
like
Yeah, I
stoic
like
writing
stoic
in a
writing.
way. Yeah, same.
That's the way the American story should be written, in my opinion. That's like a whole. That's
Like you think it
podcast.
helps define the like.
Yeah, I think that the way that America's like all of its great early writing was kind of like that style, the iceberg theory for people who are big like into like the theory of writing.
What is the
Iceberg theory was I don't know if Hemingway came up with it, but he popularized it. It's this idea that only 10% of the story should actually be written, and 90% of it should be implied and under the surface. So like the famous story that is like considered like a model of this is I think it's like The Hills as White as Elephants is the name of it or something like, and it's a man and a woman. I think they're waiting for a train somewhere out in like Africa, and
There's not much context.
she's going to get an abortion, and we learn that as we're going
I've
through
heard about
their
this book.
conversation. It's a short story. It's only like 3 pages long, and it's just their conversation, and it's implied that like all sorts of things are implied under the surface. There's so much weight to the conversation without it ever being told to you. And the reason I think that's better is because I think that people forget the readers are as smart as writers. Often smarter. Like readers are fucking great. Like they're the ones that went out of their way to go purchase your shit and are now sitting down when they have a million other options and are going to read it. You have to trust that they're going to do a good job. Like if they're going to go to all that effort, you can't at the last second when they open the book have it all laid out for them from step one to step A to step Z. You know, they can't have it all.
Yeah. I think like a great book can't be extremely, at least a great book in terms of like storytelling, can't be explained to you like you said A to
Overwritten.
Z. Like it can't just be.
Is the word I would use.
It can't just be like, for storytelling at least, like here, digest this. You know what I mean? Like this is everything that's happening. Like I think it's important and it's more stimulating for the reader, for their mind to implement their own like visual aspects and like make implications about characters on their own. I think it's more stimulating that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really realize this until last year. I had a great professor in my writing class last year, a guy named Charles Bach, who turned me on to Raymond Carver, who I think is the greatest American short story writer. He writes very human pieces, usually about middle class to lower middle class families in quasi-rural America, somewhat suburban. And they're usually people who work blue-collar jobs, are dealing with usually substance abuse problems. There's like one, I think it's called like The House That Wes and I Had, and it's told from the point of view of the ex of this guy who's an alcoholic, telling the story of this summer that they spent together in a very like loose, like almost storytelling way. And it starts out with her getting a call from her ex-husband, who's an alcoholic, who's gone sober, and he's living on this house on the beach, and he invites her, but she's seeing this other guy. And she goes eventually though, because she like loves her husband still, and the story's just about like them dealing. It's very short, and you don't learn like a ton of details about their life, but you get this is like life's fucking tough, man, for a lot of people. I don't know how we got on the topic of writing, but yeah, I don't know. Raymond
Well,
Carver.
I was asking you about your output of work. But
yeah,
no, I mean we can.
No, I mean the last thing I'll say about Raymond Carver is Raymond Carver like totally changed the way I looked at like the way fiction should be written. He's like a master storyteller. He's never like, you never think, wow, Raymond Carver's such a good writer when you're reading this. You're always thinking, wow, this is an incredible story of like real people that could be and probably is happening all over the country. There's another one that's set in a motel where this couple is like the motel workers, but this guy is like sleeping with one of the maids. They're always like great little like They're great
Like,
little
very
social
possible,
dramas. Yeah,
yeah.
they're social dramas. You could almost call them. They're funny usually. You just
What are
kinda
you
laugh.
reading right now? You reading anything?
Right now, yeah, I'm reading Lake Success by Gary Steingart, who I saw on the street like a month ago, which was really cool. He lives in New York.
How did you recognize him?
I
what he
really
looks
like
like?
books because I watch a lot of his interviews
Oh,
because
okay.
I think he's a satirist really.
Okay.
He makes the book's sort of about this guy who has like $2.1 billion in assets and a child with like autism, and he just totally is
Whoa.
losing it, and he's just completely breaking down, and he decides he wants to try and drive across the entire country.
Is this a true story?
No, it's
Oh.
fiction.
That's one of my biggest fears in life.
Having an autistic child.
Yeah, or just, a child who's born with a mental disability,
Cerebral
frankly.
palsy. Yeah.
It's really scary.
What if you could know early and you could choose to terminate the
I
pregnancy?
knew you were going to ask this question.
I had to go there, man. I had to go there.
I mean, I think if the person I was having the child with was not against the idea, like if we both agreed, yeah, I would terminate the pregnancy. But I don't have like super deep Christian roots, I am Christian, but I'm pro-abortion, frankly, pro-women's rights. But I guess that's not really super related to terminating it.
Yeah.
What would you do?
The
I
reason
think
that the question is hard is because there is the way that it appears life must be like as someone with a mental disability. And then there's the difference is what it actually is. And anyone in this position to choose will always make one choice. Anyone in position to know, or who's in the position that this choice will be made, doesn't know the reality of what it's like. And even you can hear from someone who has autism and say, my life is amazing, my life is great.
Yeah.
And you believe that, and you truly believe that with your core, but I think at some level you're always going to be like, yeah, but they don't really know what it's like to be like I am.
Exactly.
And how much that they're missing out on.
So, bottom line.
Do it. Yeah. No,
do.
It's because I've seen in film at least, I've mostly seen through film, and I have to imagine it's the same way. The toll that takes on a family, on a marriage, and I think that before you can start thinking about the people that aren't here yet, you have to think about the people that are. And now that being said, if it was with someone who really truly believed that we should keep it,
exactly.
Then that's when the
on the
situation
same
becomes
line,
harder, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think
How do you tell a woman you need to? You can't.
Well, I would keep the child.
You're probably keeping the child at that point.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I wouldn't do
such
a thing if it wasn't. Yeah. It's
not my
I think
choice.
it
It's gotta be
really
theirs.
comes down to their choice.
It's got to be their choice. It's
okay,
growing inside them. They get
next-
to make the final play.
Exactly. Next question is: do you think it's selfish, at the root, at its core?
Yeah, but I think there is. I think it's 100% selfish, but I think there is a valor in selfishness. I think that there is there's this ethos in our
It's
country.
respectable.
Yeah, I think there's this ethos in our country of always sacrifice for the other. And I don't necessarily think that is always the most productive decision. I think that people more often than not should be more selfish.
Well, because of the fact that it's not productive or logical at its root, at its core,
as long as you are
honest,
as long as you are honest when you are selfish. If you're selfish and you're lying about being selfish, because there's two situations. If you're cheating on your girlfriend because you want more, that's selfish.
Yeah.
And you're not telling her. That's selfish. But if you go to your girlfriend and say, look, I'm a complicated human person. Not that I need more than you, but I have other interests outside of you, and I want an open relationship. Now that's a form of selfishness, yeah, but I wouldn't say that's there's a difference there to me. There's something that's not wrong there. It's still selfish.
Yeah.
But it's not wrong.
Yeah. I think selfishness is stigmatized. But I think in order to be the the funny thing is the United States is also extremely individualist. It's not collectivist, but being
I think
selfish.
we're in times lately we're becoming too collectivist.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's a huge can of worms.
I think I
right
do want to
there,
wrap it
but-
up. Actually, we've been going for an hour and a half. I will say this has been one of my absolute favorite podcasts I've done.
Oh yeah.
So last minute, yeah. This is the longest one we've done since we changed
Oh, shit.
since we rebooted our channel. To the people that like listen all the way to the end, if you do, and we put this out there to the world, we haven't made a lot of videos recently. We're just so busy. Like our goal is to make one every week or every other week. And I want to like keep having interesting people on. Like you were a phenomenal guest, dude. That was a great
Yeah, we
conversation.
covered a lot of topics.
We talked about everything. People are gonna complain that we jumped around. I know when my dad watches it, he'll be like, "Why did you jump around?"
Yeah,
every 40 seconds?
I feel like we did jump around a bit,
But that's fun, man.
Yeah,
And that's like a part of the learning process.
yeah, and this is
You're really good at this too. Most people are really nervous when they start out to talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't know where to face. They don't know if they should face forward but you did a really good job.
I did. This is my the first time I've ever live streamed something like this. I did do a live interview with Red Bull Media House though,
And that you feel like that gave you
that helped
Definitely,
for sure. Because dude, I was actually so I was really nervous for that,
talking is a
but
skill.
because I had to talk to the production manager of Red Bull's first feature film in front of a live audience. Never done an interview before.
Oh, I remember. I saw a picture of you doing that. That was very cool.
Yeah, so I feel like that kind of helped. And I took an interview class at NYU. So
That's great. I should take that.
yeah,
class.
you should check
I
it out.
really should take that class.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to hit you up
I
on that.
know.
That'd be a
Yeah, it's
great
called
class.
Art of the Interview, and it's about interviewing subjects.
That is amazing.
And I know you want to wrap this up, but I also think, in the same vein, my friend told me, it's contradictory because I haven't taken it, but I think everyone should take, an acting class, an intro to, or, something with improvisation and public viewing.
That is really valid.
Yeah, putting yourself in front of the public eye, whether it's 5 people or 500 people, just getting yourself comfortable with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also having the mental energy to improvise
That's
and
smart.
communicate.
That's smart. There's no reason not to, right? You know, I know if I ever broached the idea of me taking this interview with class of my parents, they'd be a little bit worried because I already have enough time to graduate on time.
Yeah.
But that's a class I would really want to take because that would be something that is just it's not for any purpose, not for any long-term goal. That's just for me, for my own knowledge and to know how to be better at that. Anyway, we are going to wrap this up now because I do have to run and do a bunch of cleaning at my place. Hopefully,
Saturday. Yeah, you
it's
going out
Saturday
tonight?
night. We'll be out and about in the city tonight. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Peace.
Always.